What we are gonna talk about next is kind of a hot topic because the job market has been fluctuating for the last 2 years, and the number of junior engineering positions has decreased by a lot, and even friends of mine find it way harder to find jobs now. And when I compare it, talking from my perspective and their perspective, it is harder because companies ask for a lot, and by asking for a lot, they want soft skills, they want a lot of projects involved, they want you to be technologically upgraded for their team, and it just is hard. And what we are gonna talk about today is the part of soft skills and mentorship. So how can we go from juniors to positions that are gonna make us get a better job and get a even job? So on that topic, Joana is gonna tell us a bit more, so the mic is over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How's everyone feeling? Oh, a little bit more energy, come on. Okay, that's better. First of all, I would like to start by asking for a round of applause to this amazing organization. They managed to find a new speaker in this, so let's give them a round of applause, please. Are you liking HipCon? Okay, now you're going you're in the mood. Okay, so who am I? My name is Joana Santos. I'm a product engineer at XGeeks. My handle is JoanaMCSA everywhere. I'm from Portugal, and well, nice. And if you want to know more about me, you can connect with me, and we'll be talking. And a fun fact that I don't know if you know. You probably don't, because it's a very Portuguese thing. This bubamara, did I say it correctly, please? Okay. Ladybug in English actually means little Joana in Portuguese. So when I was growing up, everyone was calling me bubamara, little Joana, ladybug. You choose. There are a lot of spots here if you want to sit down. Okay, this talk wasn't really prepared until yesterday, so bear with me, and it's a little bit shorter. So every time that I'm speaking fast, please do it like, and I'll slow it down a bit. Okay, so yeah, when I was growing up, everyone was calling me Ladybug, Little Joana, and then I found out, when I entered the tech world, that a bug is a mistake. And I was the lady of them, boy, if I made them. I made a lot of them, I still do. But that's okay, as long as you learn with them and you don't make the same mistake twice. It's not about the mistake itself, it's how you react to the mistake that it's different, that makes the difference on your path. And you can use the mistakes to learn, to grow. But how am I gonna find the bugs? How am I... You know, I have a bug. I have a mistake. How am I going to find it? Well, through debug. And debug is a really important soft skill because, well, I was having dinner with non-tech people and someone asked me, what is debug anyway? Well, I stood there and I froze. How am I going to explain to non-tech people what is debug? I ask you the same today. How do we explain that? Can I give some answers, please? Maybe on the UV app if you want. Okay, I can give you one of the answers that it occurred to me. Debugging is like solving a crime. You have a murder and you have to find the murderer. How are you going to do that? Well, you look at the blueprints, you go through the clues, you do the exact same path that the murderer did. You do everything. And it's the same thing with the bug. You go look where he passed, you go through the console logs, you go through everywhere until you see where the bug is. And It's not easy to get good at debug, but believe me, with a lot of practice, you can do it, and it's going to be amazing when it's easier to find. But in order to do that, you have to understand, to know when you're looking at the code, you're looking, is this right? Well, you have to know if it's a bug or is it a feature. And in order to do that, you have to understand the business. You have to understand the context behind. And now you're looking at this and wondering, why the hell did you put these images here? Because if I ask you today, go to the crane, would you go to the left one or to the right? Show of hands if you go to the left. Okay, show of hands if you go to the right. Okay, half. Fair enough. But if we are building software for, I don't know, a zoo, and I say, oh, this crane is messed up, you know that the crane is this one. So the context really matters behind this. And what? A solution here might be a problem there. So you have to really understand everything. And if you want to go one step further in your career, understanding the business is half of the job. Delivering the code itself is another half. And in my opinion, at least, the most important part may be understanding the business. Because we are not only code monkeys, it can have a big impact on the things we do every day. People can and are going to listen to your thoughts. But in order to do that, we have to be good at communicating. Okay, this is a tough topic because everyone does it differently, but I have some tips on how I like to do it. The first tip is keep an open mind when listening. How many times were you in a meeting that had like 10 or 15 people? If every one of them does says the point of view and no one's listening, it's the same thing. It's as if you didn't go to that meeting. But if everyone's listening, you can really do it differently and understand everyone's point of view and change your mind, which is great when you're in the context. Well, the other one, and you know, communication goes both ways. So we've talked about listening. Let's go to speaking. When speaking, try to simplify the content and have the audience in mind, because you can say the biggest and the complex and technical thing is, but if no one understands, what's the point? And you have to keep the audience in mind, because it's different when you're talking to, let's say, a junior or a senior engineer. And by the way, who's a junior here? Okay, nice. And who's not a junior? Oh, you're not. You're nothing. Yeah, there are only two types of people, the juniors and not juniors. And in this time, you. Okay. So it's the same thing as when I was talking about debugging. When I was trying to explain to someone non-tech, I couldn't say that you have to look at the code and see the ifs and go to the logs. I couldn't say that because that's not worth it. People probably won't understand. So we have to simplify what you were saying and saying in another way while keeping the audience in mind. Okay. You know, one good way of communicating is through feedback. And feedback, believe me, is going to be one of the most important, if not the most important part on growing, because you can ask for feedback anytime. Believe me, there are companies that do some cycles of feedback, but you can do it like you work with someone really close. It can be your peer, your mentor, your engineer, your manager, anyone. But go proactively seeking for feedback. And it can be in any formats, like pull requests, async, through, well, pull request reviews, and I'm going to go deeper into that. You should have, sorry, you should look at pull request reviews or merge request reviews, however you want to call it, as an opportunity to grow and not to be fighting over who does the best code. Everyone wants to learn and to grow at the end of the day. So really look into the feedback reviews as an opportunity to grow. And as I was saying, you shouldn't wait for asking for feedback. It's usually a funny thing because when you ask for feedback, people are like, oh, okay, and what do you think about me? It goes both ways. Everyone wants to grow, and don't ask only about your work. Ask about your personality, anything that can be improved, like soft skills. It is really important. Anything that can be improved, you should ask for feedback. Well, a good person or the best person to give you feedback is your mentor, in my opinion, because he's really close to you. He's going to know your weakest spots, and he's going to say that, hopefully, the not so good feedback in a way that you understand and very kindly. Okay, and finding a mentor can be a hard job, but it's really life-changing when you have one. I was lucky enough to find mine in in my company, but you can go through one in LinkedIn, HipCon, anywhere you want. There's probably someone that wants to be mentoring you and helping you grow. And you should find yourself. You should surround yourself with challenging people, because your mentor is going to challenge you as hell. When you receive that feedback, which isn't so great, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm going to do that. Well, that's a challenge. You should be comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. Because stepping out of your comfort zone is where you experience the fastest growth and the fastest learning. I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but believe me, I accepted the challenge like last night drinking rakia to be here today. So challenges are everywhere, not only in a stage, but you can go through the community and see like articles to write, talks to deliver, blog posts, anything can be a challenge because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. And it can be as small as talking with someone that you're not used to, like a client or your boss's boss, something like that. Believe me. And with all of this, I want to say that small things really matter, because, well, ladybugs are small. And at the end of the day, if it's one less bug, one improvement in your life, and it builds up, and you understand, and you get better every day, you become a better person and a better worker. And as a recap, well, make mistakes and learn from them, understand the context, get feedback, always get feedback, challenge yourself in every way possible, and with consistency. When you do all of this, you're going to be a 10 times engineer, hopefully. Thank you. Rwala.
Thank you very much, Joana.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, of course. Do you have a mic? You're the organization.
So, what, how do I say this? In companies, there are usually like a lot of layers of communication when you have to get something done. What would you say would be the best approach to communicating such changes because, for example, what I hate in communication is the ping pong process where I have to be the proxy between two people.
Oh, no.
And then I have to segregate this communication just to get the answer and then get the answer back. And then it just seems, I don't know, like a waste of time, to be honest. Sometimes people tell me, hey, I'm going to schedule a call for you, but they actually don't even schedule it. And that call can be as simple for me as just sending a message and saying, hey, I want a call, but I never get that from them. And you enter into this ping pong game where it's just never ending. So like, what would you say are some processes or, well, let's keep it to processes in communicating that stuff to people?
Yeah, well, in my experience, one of the things that you have to do or you can do is communicating that, saying, well, I'm doing the ping pong, can you guys talk to each other? But in a nice way, people will understand. I mean, you're not doing anything in there. If there's a meeting that could be an email, because we've all have that, you can say, oh, can you send me a brief description of what's going to be the meeting? And when they do, you have the answer. You probably have the answer and say, oh, it's this. If you have an agenda, it's really easier to look into the meeting and say that it's not needed. So I think the answer to that lack of communication is communicating more. When something bothers you, you don't need to be like, oh, but I have to do this. Maybe not. Maybe if you say, well, can we do this through email or through Slack, wherever you use, and it's easier, and people probably will thank you because they're not doing the ping pong, because that's so bad for them as well. So yeah.
It's a kind of a nice contrast that you have to fix
something.
Communication with communication.
Yeah.
So
but do you understand my point? Does it make sense?
Yes. I mean, just bring it up.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Sense.
Thank you for your question.
No problem. So let's give a round of applause to Joanne. And
there's another question. Sorry.
Okay. My bad.
So I really enjoyed your presentation. I think you touched really important points. I think the two things that most trigger you to grow in your career that you mentioned are when you make mistakes and learn from them.
Yes.
And then you touch on communication and feedback is really important because I think it's probably the second thing that's going to allow you to grow the most when you get feedback from someone that's not you. Obviously, you have a perception of where you're good and where you're bad.
But you're always biased, yeah.
But my question is, you touched on pull requests as a great way of communicating between the team and providing feedback. What is your approach on pull requests and how to provide that kind of feedback? And you can touch on things like, how would you do it, for example, if you're commenting on, if you're reviewing a pull request from a junior in a piece of code that maybe he has 20 lines in something that could be done in 5 lines. How would you approach this situation? How would you give feedback to this person? Okay,
thank you for your question. That's a really great question. Well, first of all, I have the person in mind, and knowing the person allows me to have the person in mind and not just shouting to the person. And when I'm writing the code, I remember that I'm talking to a person. That's the first point.
On fight mode.
Exactly. And then I have, I think it's a standardization, which is before I do the comment, I say if it's a question, a suggestion, a nitpick, because, well, all of us are in the code and sometimes it bothers me, any kind of stuff. And then I say what I want to say, like this code could be done in 5 lines. These are the lines that probably work. I didn't test them. And I say where it improves. Like it improves readability, it improves maintainability, scalability. If it doesn't improve anything, I don't comment it. Maybe it improves readability in the 20 lines of code instead of the 5, so I let the code be. But I say where it improves, and if it's a more technical topic or something, I back myself up with an article or a talk or any kind of way. Thank you.
Since we are keeping the discussion open, I have a really good example of that, because I used to work with a guy that when you suggest something to him on his PR review, his answer was in 90% of the time, no, I'm gonna keep my code.
Oh no.
Yeah, and as you can say, that escalated. Not quickly,
Yeah.
but it did escalate, because up to the point where the ego is so filled up, where he wants his code to go, but it just doesn't make sense. And then there was, I remember, like, there was even a Confluence page of that saying
Best practices.
saying CEO's review of the team's review of Jason's code of from team. So it was basically a Confluence page that for the whole PR review section that it ended up, because it escalated, and it had to be like fixed on a weekly basis because we got into a bun fight basically.
Yeah, Jesus, but you have to remember that the thing you want to grow, first thing, and the thing they're reviewing is the code, not you. And the code is from everyone. Everyone has to be comfortable with the code.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it's not good to work with that type of people.
I noticed that like it's better to even have a call with somebody if something is not clear, rather than to keep the whole section of PR review open, because it adds to the toxicity of the culture in the company itself. Honestly, when somebody is acting like that, it just doesn't make much sense. So I started having this barrier where if he says no, I get to keep this line of code, I'm like, let's hop on a call, and that like clarifies things up a bit.
Yeah, you see communication. Yeah, but sometimes it's not great to have a call. It's like they have pros and cons, because when you don't do a call, you document it in your PR, and the PR itself is documentation. Yeah. So when you spot a bug and stuff, and you say, oh, this cannot go like this, and then if you hop into a call, 3 months from now, you're not going to know what was in the call. But it's a way of fixing things, yeah, with communication again, yeah.
either that or HR. I don't see what's next. Okay. Well, if there are any further questions, I guess that's it. Let's head to the break and see you at the next lecture.
Thank you so much.